Hey everyone, thank you so much for clicking back on my channel. Okay, today we got a really good video. So your college degree does not equal financial freedom, and I'm going to explain why. Okay, so before we get into today's video, I do want to make a little bit of a disclaimer. This is not to say that you do need a college degree in order to be financially stable. What this video is about is to show you all that you do not necessarily need to have a degree in order to be financially secure in your life. I know a lot of people who have college degrees but are still living paycheck to paycheck, or perhaps are under the impression that because they have a college degree, they're well off in comparison to people who perhaps don't have a college degree. And yes, this is perhaps sometimes the case, but more oftentimes than not, a college degree does not represent how well you are at handling your money. So for those of you that are new to this channel, my name is Alvy Macias. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video. I upload videos every single week, so please consider subscribing to the channel, hit the notification bell, and join this journey where we try to create more first-generation millionaires, try to end the cycle of poverty, and I try to show you all how to be more financially stable with your money. Okay, so let's approach this video in terms of myths and the actual truth. So the first myth that I want to talk about when it comes to college degrees and being financially stable is going to be the myth that we're all told a college degree equals more money. Now, over the span of perhaps 10, 15, 20 years, this has shown to be true. A college degree over your entire lifespan does have a tendency to correlate to a bigger income. But just because you have a college degree and your income has a tendency to go up, that does not mean that that's the perfect path for every single person. One of the most biggest omissions when that stat gets thrown around of that when you have a college degree, you have a tendency to get a bigger income over your lifespan is the amount of debt or any other consumer debt that most people have when it comes to student loans and post-graduation. Now, the typical example that I often refer to and most people refer to is the plumber versus the lawyer. Now, a plumber oftentimes does not require a bunch of schooling. Not a knock to plumbers. If you're a plumber, please let me know down below in the comments. But typically a plumber, at least in society's view, is viewed as a lesser educated individual. However, one thing that the plumber does not have that the lawyer does is student loans. Specifically, we've all heard the tale of someone graduating law school with perhaps $200,000, $300,000, even $500,000 in student loan debt. In contrast to the plumber who went to trade school, paid for it out of pocket, perhaps didn't even need to take out a single dime in student loans or any loans in general because of apprenticeships, because of mentorships, or a bunch of other avenues. The plumber can go out and make a decent income somewhere in the realm of $60,000 to $70,000 per year immediately after school. Doesn't need to pay back any student loans and has more money in their pocket as opposed to the lawyer. The lawyer, on the other hand, has those $200,000, $300,000, $500,000 in student loans that they need to pay back. So yes, their income is far greater, but because they have more student loans, it's not really their money. They have to pay back their student loans to justify having that great income. So which side of the coin would you rather be on? This is not a knock to either the plumber or the lawyer, but just take into consideration that just because you have a college degree and you earn more money over time does not mean that you're going to be more financially stable or more financially well off than the other person who does not have a college degree. And that ties into the second point that people think, well, a degree is going to be worth it because I'm going to have a bigger income over the lifespan of my life. And as we talked about in the previous example, yes, that is sometimes true, but it all becomes a question of ratios and how much income you plan to make. So let me explain this a little bit better. When it comes to your schooling and your specific degree, Dave Ramsey talks about getting a degree in left-handed puppetry. That's the thing, look it up, is not going to correlate to a bigger income over time. However, just like in the lawyer example, or perhaps someone going into medical school, yes, over time, you are probably and most likely going to make more money over your lifetime, because that degree is very valuable and there's tons of need for doctors, lawyers, etc., those types of elite degrees. But just because you get a degree does not mean that your degree is valuable in the marketplace. There's oftentimes a lot of students going into psychology. I studied sociology, which is a great area of study, but there's not a ton of career opportunity for sociologists. Most of us go into social work, and again, not knocking anyone who went into social work, because I think it's a great profession. There's just not a huge correlation between social work and massive amounts of income or being financially stable. So is a degree going to mean that you're better with money? No, not always. And the reason for this is because, again, like I mentioned, some degrees have value, and we know this for a fact. Computer science, mechanical engineering, medical professions, or anyone going into law school all have very in-demand professions right now. However, those other degrees, perhaps left-handed puppetry is one of them, or basket weaving, you generally have an idea as to if your degree is going to provide you value over the long run. If you don't, I would highly suggest you look that up and see what the career track is for someone who earns X degree. You plug in whatever you're currently studying or whatever you hope to study one day. And the last point I want to touch on this is going into debt is never worth a piece of paper. Ultimately, a degree is simply that, a piece of paper. Yes, there are definitely degrees that are worth more, like I mentioned, but it's all about what you do with that piece of paper, the experience you gain, the knowledge you gain, and every other aspect outside of that degree. Personally, my degree is from a very prestigious school, but it's the work and the community service that I did on top of that degree that has really been a bigger factor in terms of me, my jobs, and whether or not I get hired. So always remember that. A degree is awesome, but it's not the only component that's going to make you financially stable. So here's my question of the day for you all. Do you believe that your college degree is going to indicate whether or not you are good with money? Leave your comments down below. So let's go ahead and address the elephant in the room that I think perhaps a lot of people are going to think that is a good argument against what I'm trying to say in this video.
Well, Alvy, I went to get my PhD and I got a really good job after my PhD or my master's.
Again, this all kind of ties into that same premise and idea that just because you get a higher degree does not mean you're going to make more money. Yes, some PhDs or some master's degree are definitely going to make you more money. However, that's not always the case. You have to look at each degree on a case-by-case basis. Is it worth going into another $40,000 in debt to get a different degree or a more prestigious degree? That's a personal choice. I'm not going to answer that for you, but I will tell you this. You have to look at what is that graduate degree going to return to you on your investment. The investment is your time, your money, your mental health, because going to graduate school is no joke. Is that graduate degree going to increase your income by $20,000 over the span of 1 year? Or is it going to increase your income by $5,000 over the span of 5 years? You have to look at those individually and figure out if that's something that you want to take on. And to be honest, graduate school is expensive no matter where you go. There are tons of programs out there that will offer you reduced tuition on master's programs or PhD programs. There's the general, what are they called? There's the TA route where you can go and help a specific instructor be their TA, and then you get a reduced amount on your graduate school. So graduate schooling does not always correlate to you being better with your money because you went to get an MBA. Actually, that's always probably the biggest argument. People think, well, I'm going to get an MBA, which is a Master's in Business Administration. For those of you that don't know, I didn't know up until maybe 2 years ago.
And they think, well, I'm going to get an MBA, so I am going to be good with money. I'm going to make a lot more money and it'll all be worth it.
No, That's not true. An MBA, Master's in Business Administration, is a good degree to get. I will say that. However, just because you get an MBA does not mean you're good with money. You need to be good with money, and an MBA does not correlate to you being financially stable. I know tons of people who can attribute absolutely nothing to their degree in terms of them being financially stable. It's all about the knowledge that they looked at outside of school, or perhaps their family was really good with money. So don't think a master's degree or a doctorate or any other advanced degree is going to mean that you're going to make more money and that that's going to be okay in the long run. So since a degree doesn't always correlate to you being financially stable, I do want to take this moment to acknowledge some of the things that are going to be a lot more indicative of you being good with money. So number one, and probably the most important, is going to be living on a budget. You cannot be financially stable or be good with money if you have no idea how much money you need to survive. You need to understand how much it's going to cost for your rent, your food, your utilities, and any other payments that you so choose to have. If you don't know that number, the necessities number, then you have no idea if you're making enough money to put away for savings, or if you need to try to figure out how to get a part-time job just to cover your basics. The other point to this is you have to live below your means. If you only make $2,000 per month and your car payment is $500 per month, that is 25% of your budget. You can't sustain that. You need to figure out if you are living above your means or below your means. That is what's going to be a good indicator of you being financially stable. Not your college degree, not where you went to school, and not what degree you got from school. It's about living below your means and living on a budget. Now, if you're interested, I do have a video explaining a little bit about how I've been able to pay down over $12,000 in student loans within 1 year of graduating from the University of Oregon. And I'll leave that linked up here in the cards, and it will also be linked in the description below. All right, everyone, thank you so much for watching today's video. So just remember, just because you get a degree doesn't mean it's going to correlate to you being financially stable. It's all about you taking the time to learn how to manage your own money. And remember that just because you make a lot of money doesn't mean you have a lot of money. You need to be able to budget, live below your means, and then figure out if you are participating in what's called lifestyle inflation. My name is Alvy Macias. Consider subscribing to the channel if you found value in this video. I upload videos every single week where we talk about building more first-generation millionaires, how to end the cycle of poverty, and how to help you be better with your money. I'll see y'all next week.